This video is made with generous donations from amazing furries, just like you. Hey everyone, and welcome to a brand new series called Make a Masterclass. And yes, this is a remake of an old series, but this time I'll be doing things a bit differently. This series will be covering the building blocks of fursuit making, all the basic bare bones stuff that you will need to build a fursuit, and I'm talking like basic. Each video will be like a little class if your school was for furries and the subject was fursuit making. If you follow along with this series, you will have all the info you need to create a fursuit, even if you've never heard of a fursuit before. At the end of each video lesson, I will be assigning some homework, but now fear not, this isn't boring old homework, but practice for your skills and important decisions you will need to make for the creation of a fursuit of your own. I hope to release a new one of these every fortnight with maybe a Q&A video in between, depending on how many questions I get in the comments on each. Thank you, Mr. Crow outside. Well, class is in session, so let's get started. So as we begin at the basics, let's start from square one, square zero, I suppose. So what is a fursuit? Put simply, fursuits are a physical costume you can wear to embody your persona or original character. They are most commonly made out of fur, however they can be made of leather, fleece, minky, or even lycra. They are tailor-made to the buyer if it's a commission piece, including the headpiece, which can be made from anything from foam to 3D printed plastic. A fursuit most commonly consists of 5 separate parts. We have the head, the hands, the tail, the body, and the feet, each of which I will speak about in more detail later on in the video. These parts can be worn in many different ways. As a full body fursuit, as a half suit, which either the top or bottom half is worn with pants and or a shirt. A partial, which usually consists of arm, sleeves, feet, hand, heads, and tail, all the way to only the hands, tail, and head, and these are also worn with clothes to fill in any human gaps. And of course, all items can be worn individually to accessorize as you like. Fursuits come in countless styles, but for the sake of this series, I'm going to be talking about the main 3 types: toony, realistic, and semi-realistic. A second part to this video where I discuss many more types of fursuits is available for Patreons starting right now. These include quad suits, kimono, body-tight suits, use-your-own-eye fursuits, protogens, and many more. I will also go into specific information about each. So if you're keen to learn how quad suits work or how kimono eyes look the way they do, be sure to check it out. Link to my Patreon will be down below. Toony fursuits are defined by cartoon-like features. As an example, Sky is a toony fursuit. These features are often exaggerated, like large, big cartoon eyes, big noses, tongues, and will often have an overall plush-like feel to them. Most commonly, they aren't airbrushed, and most of their markings are sewn and have really hard lines. This isn't to say that toony suits can't be airbrushed or have detailed features. I'm simply talking about what is most common for each of these styles. These style of fursuits obviously do not represent an accurate portrayal of their species, but rather a stylized representation. These are also the most common kinds of fursuits. My favorite toony artists in the style are Squeaky Pinky and Nefertiti. Realistic fursuits are the crazy detailed, airbrushed, realistic looking fursuits you see around. Realistic fursuits aim to come as close to the real life representation as possible. Often resins and other premium materials are used to create the effects in the costume. The eyes are mostly made of resin or glass and are hand painted or casted to look like realistic animal eyes. Often the jaws and tongue are casted out of resins and silicone, and the bodysuits can even look different too, opting for a more realistic digigrade over the larger toony style. My favorite artists in this style are Beast Cub and Stuffed Panda Studios. Semi-realistic fursuits are fursuits that combine elements of both to create a unique style that's halfway between the two. You may have realistic airbrushing but toony eyes, or a realistic jaw set in a chubby toony head. And my favorite suits in this style are those of Dexterous Zombie and City Mutt fursuits. Okay, let's go into each of the specific parts of a fursuit. Fursuit heads are most commonly made out of foam, the same material you make couch cushions out of. You can see out of the eyes through a painted mesh and breathe out of the mouth and the eyes too. If your head is a realistic style, you will see out of the tear ducts of the head through the thin mesh, meaning your vision is less in a realistic head, and it is also likely that a realistic head will be made out of a hard resin base with a moving jaw. It sits just underneath your chin and is basically a big hinge that either has elastic or a spring there to keep it closed when you're not opening your mouth. However, of course, toonie heads can also have moving jaws too. And fursuit heads have also been made out of 3D printed plastic in recent years. The neck of the fursuit, it covers your chest, your shoulders and your back, and it allows a seamless transition into your bodysuit. Heads can be lined with a sweat absorbent material or not lined at all. And this doesn't take away from the quality of the fursuit. However, if your fursuit head is unlined, you will need to wear a balaclava to protect the internal foam or other materials from your sweat. The fursuit eyes, at least for toonie suits, come in two main varieties, Follow Me and 2D. Follow Me eyes are kind of made like bowls, they're curved like that. So that when you're looking at the costume, it looks like it's looking at you from no matter which angle you're viewing it from. These are most commonly made from EVA foam or plastic. However, in recent years, we have seen a surge in 3D printed and resin casted Follow Me eyes. Whereas 2D eyes look kind of cartoony and they are made from a flat piece of white plastic as well as the usual mesh. This doesn't look like it's looking at you, it looks like it's focused forward most commonly, so they just always forward like that. And often I find the vision in 2D eyes to be a little bit worse than the Follow Me eyes, but that depends on your maker entirely. Fursuit hand paws are most commonly four-fingered, meaning you have to press two of your fingers together to wear them. It can feel a little bit weird at first, but you really do get used to the sensation over time. Five-fingered hand paws are also relatively common, however we're seeing a big surge in the four-fingered ones nowadays. Hand paws are often of the puffy variety, meaning they have padding which exaggerates the shape of your fingers. These can be built in or removable. Hand paws can also be form-fitting, so conform to your fingies like gloves, and flat as well, so no padding at all. These can also be lined, unlined, or even half-lined. And this is definitely a personal preference thing. I prefer half-lined myself, as I find fully lined hand paws a nightmare to get on and off when you've been sweating. The paw pads can be stuffed or unstuffed, made out of soft or leathery materials, or can even be casted out of silicone. Any claws that are on your paws are most commonly made out of minky nowadays, or a soft fleece. However, they can also be resin cast or made out of vinyl too. The possibilities are really endless. Fursuit tails are essentially giant pillows made out of fur. They are most commonly filled with stuffing and have loops on the flat base to thread a belt through to wear it. They can come in any shape and size and are often a great way to indicate the species of the costume. Sometimes tails can have a foam core which allows the tail to wag, stay off the ground, have a bit more of a natural movement. We also have floor dragger tails which are extra long and drag on the ground behind the wearer. Most commonly seen in species like cats, kangaroos, and angel dragons. They're either zipped into a bodysuit or worn via a belt through a hole in the bodysuit where the tailbone is. Fursuit feet paws can come in a variety of styles and constructions. Originally, they were most commonly created out of foam and glued to shoes to create the shape. However, nowadays they're custom tailored with stuffed interiors for comfort and ease of cleaning. They can come both with and without the digigrade leg shape on the angle, and they can have solid rubber bottoms for a more intense outdoor wear and indoor like paw pad fur bottoms for more light indoor wear. Sock-like feet paws are also fairly common nowadays too. Sock paws are more form-fitting to a wearer's feet and have a lot more dexterity than their big stompy counterparts. Hooves, hand feet for monkeys, and rabbit feet are other examples of more complex feet shapes that are certainly possible. Some feet paws are worn with built-in shoes, however slipper-style paws are also fairly common nowadays. Fursuit bodysuits are no doubt the largest items in the fursuit wardrobe. They cover most of the wearer's body like a onesie. They're usually made of mid to long length fur with a zip down the front or the back, depending on the maker. Half suits where only the legs or upper torso are made are also possible using elastic or suspenders to hold them in place, with clothes worn over the remaining human bits. Fursuit bodysuits come in a couple of different shape varieties. Plantigrade, which matches the human gait, digitigrade, which is padded like an animal's leg, and I can't remember the name of it, it's like with bears and similar, which is like plantigrade, but it's padded to look like a bear or even an otter. Hooved animals can also be represented in these styles. Complex digigrade, like kangaroo digi, can also be created. Padding is most commonly made out of shaped pillows and stuffing to reduce the heat when wearing, and can either be removed completely or the stuffing can be taken out. Less commonly, it is made from hollow or even solid foam to fill out the legs and make it look cohesive. Fursuits are worn by first putting on your bodysuit, installing your tail and feet, making sure your bodysuit fur runs over the top of the foot. You zip yourself up, put on your head, adjust the neck, then put on your hand paws, making sure that the bodysuit fur runs over the top of the hand paws, and then you're a giant fluffy animal. Congratulations! Now, I've been in the fursuit and fursuit making game for over 8 years now, and I've gotten a amount of questions in that time. So let's cover a few of the most commonly asked questions I get from new furs and non-furs alike. Is it hot? Yes, absolutely. If you were to wear a head-to-toe winter coat and then run around in summer, you'd get hot too. Some fursuits are documented to get over 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 40 degrees Celsius. If you're not careful, you may get heat stroke. It's recommended you wear undergarments that help you regulate your body temperature, ideally moisture-wicking garments like Under Armour heat gear or even a ice cooling vest to give your body a helping hand. However, each body is different, and be sure to listen to yours when fursuiting. Take breaks and drink a lot of water to make sure no one has to take you to hospital. How do you see? I've had kids I've met in suit ask me this, and my answer is always with my eyes. How do you see? In fursuits, you see out the eyes, one way or another. Some fursuits have neck vision, however that's very uncommon. Looking through fursuit eyes is like looking through a screen door. However, your depth perception tends to be way off and your blind spot is huge. It's important to be aware of your surroundings so you don't accidentally kick small children who's outside of your range of vision. What if I wear glasses? Do I have to wear contacts? I personally always recommend contacts to my customers. If you wear glasses, there's always a chance of them fogging. At least with contacts, you can kind of blink any fogging away. If you can see well enough without your glasses, I recommend without, if at all possible. However, extra space can be created inside of a head for glasses to be worn at your own risk. Can you install air conditioning? Look, liquid-cooled fursuits have existed before because of engineers with way too much time on their hands, but they're not common at all and would be stupidly expensive. So for all extensive purposes, no. However, in-head fans and cooling vests are both possible additions depending on your maker. However, remember, no amount of cooling technology is going to make the experience a cold one. I'm 8, can I get a furry suit? Anyone of any age can get a fursuit. However, most makers do have an over 18 policy for their custom commissions due to PayPal's regulations. So I'd recommend purchasing a pre-made fursuit or having a go at making one yourself, which ideally, you'll be able to do with not too much difficulty by the end of this series. Why did you forget this style? Oh my god, but did you consider dino masks? Look, if I sat down and covered all styles available, we would be here for hours. However, I will be releasing a counter video to every video in this series, going into more depth on more niche techniques and topics on my Patreon. So if you want more info on the fursuit styles out there, consider supporting me. Link will be down below and you get so many more perks than just those. How is it custom fit? Fursuit makers require most customers to send them a duct tape dummy, which is essentially a life-size model of your body. It is created by covering the customer in duct tape all the way to their neck, wrists, and the bottoms of their heels. We do this by putting on a pair of painter's overalls, and then you cover your friend in duct tape, and then they're cut out and freed. The leftover duct tape mold is then taped back together and then sent off to the fursuit maker via post. They can then reassemble it and stuff it to create a life-size model to pattern and work with, so they know that your suit will fit you perfectly. Why is it so expensive, lol? As you'll see in the coming series, fursuits are not only expensive to make, but take a large variety of learned and practiced skills to create a costume of professional quality. You're not only paying for the materials, which are already in the several hundreds of dollars, but also the maker's time and their expertise. Making it yourself is by far the cheapest way to acquire a fursuit, and I hope I can get you well on the way to doing that with this series. Alright, so your homework for this fortnight is to choose how much of the fursuit you'll be making and what style you'll be creating it in. My tutorial series will be covering toony fursuits, however, similar skills could also be applied to semi-realistic suits. However, planning in advance helps a whole bunch when it comes to creation of your first fursuit, so make those choices now. What will you be making? Let me know down below, and be sure to comment any questions you have on this first lesson, and I'll see you guys in class next time.